Here, honestly, I think we're going to go ahead and kick this thing off in just a second. I think most people have come in from the waiting room. So just first off, thank you guys so much for joining on live. These are always like really, really fun to do. And like, especially when you're there live, it just like, it gives so much more energy. Here, honestly, I think we're going to, sorry, I have the YouTube live pulled up on my second screen as well too. Um, but no, I appreciate you guys all joining on live. Some quick house rules as we kick this thing off. If you can turn on your camera, please do, purely because these calls are like a million times more fun to do when we can see your faces, the ahas, the oh no's, the head scratches. It's also like really helpful as a presenter to like understand where to speed up and where to slow down a little bit. Any questions that you do have, feel free to go ahead and drop them into the Zoom chat. So we've got like me and Misty. We're both going to be monitoring the Zoom chat. Misty, if you want to wave real quick. Misty's going to be helping me out with that as well too. Yeah, last thing is be respectful. Usually not a problem. But yeah, drop in anything that you have, and we're going to try and get all the questions that you guys have pulled up today as Drew is going through his talk. And big thing on my end is just a quick thank you for being here. This is obviously like the hardest part is showing up and being live. And so just asking that you be fully here, present with mic and video on. And look, if life happens, which sometimes it does, feel free to turn off your video. Feel free to leave the call. It's going to be recorded, and we're going to make sure to send you guys the recording after the fact. So quick agenda over here is I'm going to talk a little bit about quick agenda here is I'm going to talk a little bit about Drew and his background. We're going to hand it off the rest of the call to him for about 45 minutes, and then we'll wrap up with a little bit of Q&A, as well as a special promo code as a thank you for any of you folks that are new to Heartbeat, along with some of our like additional upcoming events. So talking about Drew is just fantastic. Like I get so excited every time Drew comes on one of these calls because like even I learn so much, and I'm sure like Mike, who's now running our marketing, hates it because I send him a bunch of scribbled notes of all these cool things that we need to try now. Drew is just he's a serial entrepreneur, he's a growth strategist, and he's best known for founding GroHaus, an innovative agency designed for helping skilled professionals build and scale their business. He's got over a decade of experience as a marketing consultant, and he created GroHaus at the onset of the pandemic, rapidly growing it to six figures within just 3 months. Today, GroHaus has helped numerous clients achieve success, leveraging Drew's unique approach to marketing and his deep understanding of clients' like professional needs. So outside of the business, Drew is a devoted husband and a father. This tutorial that Drew is giving today, what we're focusing on is how you can build high value interactive lead magnets that your prospects are going to love. And it's actually a part two from a previous tutorial that he did where he taught how to build lead magnets using AI. So part two, we're going to focus on really like how do we push traffic to your bots, generate leads, and really automate the nurturing process. So if you're a coach, a consultant, or anyone really in like the knowledge and service industry, like professional services, nonprofits, for example, you are in the right place. We're going to be focusing a lot on these spaces and just making sure you have all the tools that you need to succeed and grow your business. And so without further ado, Drew, I'm so excited to hand off the rest of the call to you. The rest of the call is all yours, my man.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. Thanks everybody for being here. I will say, just as a disclaimer, while I get my screen share set up, if you didn't check out part one, it is not a prerequisite for this. So don't worry about it. Like it's okay. You'll still be able to follow along. In fact, as I was writing this, I realized that this might have actually been a better part one than the part one I did because it goes into a lot more of the background knowledge that it takes to successfully build one of these tools. So real quick, just to, there we go. So today's agenda. These are the 5 topics we're going to cover. What kind of bots should I build? How to leverage them for your clients and prospects? How to communicate your bot's value to your prospects and clients? How to promote your bot, which was the #1 thing requested in all of the feedback I got after the first session. And then how to use AI agents in lead nurturing. AI agents are that is really the next generation of AI. And I'm going to show you some really cool things at the end in a quick demo of just a handful of ideas that you can use to implement AI agents in your marketing stack. So,
and Drew, sorry to actually interrupt you. For anyone that's watching the Zoom and like cannot see Zoom, Drew's screen right now, if you hover in the top left corner of Zoom, there it looks like tabs. Just like click on the one that says Drew Donaldson's screen. It's something Zoom changed recently, and it's been bugging the crap out of me. But just to make sure everyone can actually see the slides that he's showing.
and don't worry, the good stuff's a couple slides deep. So, like, if you need a minute to find it, you're not going to miss anything critical. But like Mortis has said, leave your questions in the chat. We'll get to as many as we can. And if we don't get to many, I host a Friday session here on Heartbeats. You are welcome to join. It's 90 minutes every Friday at noon. And you can come in with any marketing questions you have. You have questions on this session, other sessions that you've watched, any other marketing questions, any ideas, brainstorming. It's just a great group of people that join, and it's free to you as a Heartbeat member. So make sure you set it on your calendar and join. All right. So this was one of the questions that we didn't get to at the end of the last session, and I thought this was a really good place to start. And it's essentially, what kind of bot would be appropriate as lead gen, and do these things replace other lead gen elements that you might have in your program? So really, there's 5 types of bots you can build, and of course, you could build more than these. These are just the 5 most commonly seen bots, especially in lead gen or just inside of like coaching communities. So the first thing is supplemental coaching. Then we have study buddies, FAQ bots, which are probably the most well-known, generative tools like a copywriting bot, which I built a lot of, and then a traditional lead gen bot. Now, all of these can be used as lead gen, but the lead gen bot itself is also a separate type of bot, and we'll go through those differences shortly. So the first type of bot is supplemental coaching bot. This is the AI version of you, right? You add all your knowledge into a bot, and then anytime your prospect or client comes to your bot, they can ask it questions, get advice, best practices, frameworks. The whole premise is, hey, you can coach while you sleep. But the reality is that at the current state of AI, this is better in theory than practice. The coaching relationship really relies on that human connection. And so while this can be a good supplement, it's not really ideal for lead gen because they don't really get to know you. They don't really get that warm touch that you might be trying to create inside a coaching community or in any kind of community for that matter. So it works really well if you're building a coaching bot that has a very specific focus. Like say you have a framework. If you go back to and watch the first part of this training, you'll see we build this narrow kind of supplemental coaching bot that works through a person's specific framework. That's a really good use case. A general kind of coaching bot, most people might poke around with it for a second, but because it's so broad, they're never really going to engage. So most of the time, this is a waste of time. The next is a study buddy. So if your community is built around helping people accomplish something, so like a certification or pass an exam, something like that, study buddies are great, right? It can function as a quiz. It can provide instant feedback on questions they got wrong and what the right answer is. It's a heck of a lot more fun than clicking through a practice test. And if any of you remember your SAT practice test days, I'm sure you can remember how dull those were. So this is just a little bit of a more fun way to do it. They can also provide a future study roadmap. So if you ask 10 questions, they get 3 of them wrong. They can provide it as an output. Hey, you need to study these 3 topics. And like I said, it's great for any community that has community members worried about passing an exam for like a certification or graduation or something like that. Then we have FAQ bots. These are the oldest bots online. They've been around absolutely forever. I don't know anyone that has never interacted with one. And these are usually those bugs that live on a website. You click them, and then usually people just dump in their whole, help database of all the frequently asked questions, and then it can be queried. This is one of those things that because it's been around for so long, a lot of people don't really trust it. So it's not usually worth building one unless you're a software company like Heartbeat, where
Like
this kind.
277 Kansas.
Sorry about that. So it's really not worth building it unless you're like a software company where your help files are extensive and very concrete. If there's, shades of gray in the work you do, this is really not going to be an ideal thing. And the biggest problem is that when you say, hey, this is a bot that's going to answer all your questions, and then it can't answer all your questions, that's really frustrating to the user. So these are not great for lead gen. You can put them on your site just as a supplementary thing. And if you do a really good job with it, it can be really powerful, but it's not ideal for the lead gen practice. Then you have generative tools. This is my favorite kind of tool. So this creates newborn content from AI, and the possibilities here are really endless. It can do anything from meal planning to copywriting to generating images, whatever you want to create for the user. They just need to provide some kind of input and feedback on that, and the AI will provide feedback on that input. It can also do analysis, which is really cool. We built one of these recently for an accounting firm that will take in a profit and loss and balance sheet and provide like essentially a financial analysis of the business. These can be incredibly high value, which makes them fantastic for lead generation tools, because if you're able to provide a lot of value back to your customer or prospect, they're going to really want to use that tool and want to engage with it. And it's not going to be the kind of thing that's like, oh, this is cool, I'll poke around with it for a second, but I'm not actually going to go through the full process. Then the last kind of tool is just a straight lead gen tool. So this is like your online sales rep. And we built one of these for one of my other businesses. It's essentially just a chatbot that sits on the screen. It's better than a form because people, they see a lead form, they know what the outcome is. But if you have a chatbot do it, it's a little bit of a softer touch. It feels more real time, and people will be able to not only ask it questions, but also provide all the details you need to reach out. So this is it's kind of a combination of like an FAQ bot plus, a lead form. But the idea here is that, any of these can be lead gen. Any of the ones I covered can be a lead gen driver for you. It's just picking the right one for your particular community, or what the application is. What is the thing you're trying to entice people with? So now this was the other question, and this is such a good question, because the reality is that even though AI is in our world is everywhere, and none of you would be on this call if you didn't have some background in what AI is and what it can do, there's still a lot of people that don't know. And so, if it's easy to explain an ebook or a workbook or something like that as a lead gen opportunity, how do you communicate this? This is really a problem that will solve itself with time. This is a chart that shows the months to 100 million users, and compared to ChatGPT, compared to all of the other platforms out there. And the only one on there is Threads, and that's because they auto-enrolled a bunch of their people. So obviously it did not take them very long to get to 100 million users when they're already starting with 1 billion users on their platform. So ChatGPT only took 2 months to hit 100 million users. That has not slowed. People are still learning about ChatGPT every day. Over Thanksgiving, I taught my mom about ChatGPT, and now she's asking it questions all the time. So over time, you're not really going to have to worry about this. The reality is that in the meantime, all you really need to do is explain that it's a tool, it performs a specific function, and it provides value to the user in performing that function. So you don't have to overcomplicate this. You don't have to think about like how you have to explain neural networks to your clients. You just say, it's a tool. I built a tool. That's it, and leave it at that. You don't even have to mention the word AI. Hey, I built a parent coaching tool that you can describe your kid's behavioral symptoms, and it produces what would it be called? Like a coaching plan to help fix that behavioral issue. But keep it simple. You don't need to go crazy with this. Next question we got was, how do we choose an appropriate topic for the bot? And this is also really good because it's that kind of thing that, as I said before, the narrower, the better, right? Like, we don't want the prospect to be confused as to what it is. We want them to understand exactly what they're getting from the bot. We also got the question that, what do we do once the magnet's complete? Where are the best places to put it and promote it? Can you drop these into ads, websites, etc.? So we're going to talk about that now. So you really have 4 options for hosting your bot. You can do a single page tool funnel, a teaser style landing page, a main site embed, or a community embed. Starting with the tool funnel, this is a really simple website. You put everything above the fold, and then you just direct people into what they do. So usually you have a little bit of a video first that explains, here's how you use the tool. Then you have the tool embedded itself. Then you have your step 3 could be, another lead gen opportunity, or just, a regular, just link to a Google Doc file. And then you can even have a calendar booking like embed there as well if you want to make that part of your process. Tool funnels are great because they're simple. They don't take a lot of time to build. You can make them pretty, but they can also look kind of ugly and still do the trick. And the nice part here is you can do all the lead capture inside the tool, so you don't have to have an additional lead gen element on the page unless you have a specific reason for doing that. So like the book a call, for example, if you want them to schedule a call with you as part of this process, then it makes sense to put it on. But even if they don't book a call, you still capture their lead in the tool. So this is really good because it's limited distractions, maximize engagement. It tells them exactly what they need to do. but it really doesn't have great ability to do an on-page sale. So it's really just for lead gen. Now, the next type of page is a lot better at that. And so this is like a teaser style landing page. This is great if you're building multiple AI tools and you want to give them one piece of it. And so again, you have a video, and you have a call to action so that they can get the bundle, they can test drive the tool. And then below that, here's everything you get. That would be the rest of your sales page. So you could do this just as like, hey, test our XYZ tool, get the full coaching bundle or the full community bundle or whatever your program is. And this is an easy way to just kind of add a section to the top of an existing sales page just to give it some zhuzh and get people to want to engage with it more. So that is a teaser style landing page. Now, this is great because it's, since it's just sitting at the top of an existing sales page, it's easy to put in a sales call to action on that. Now, the problem with it is that you're going to get a lot of tire kickers because naturally people are just going to go to the free tool and not take action on the sales CTA. And that could eat up your AI credits, which you still would have that issue with a tool style page. But because the tool style page is so directed and you go into it knowing, hey, I'm not trying to get a sale out of this, I'm just trying to get the lead or book the appointment, it's a little less likely. Also, because you've set up that workflow that ends in, hey, you need to book a call or you need to take this next step, there's that kind of understanding that to get the full value of the tool, they need to take that next step. So you could have and I'll show you some examples that I threw together real quick just to show you how basic these can be. But that's just something to consider if you're going to put this onto an existing sales page. The last piece is a main site embed. So this is like that FAQ bot that lives at the bottom of your page. This is the one from my site. High Level has a really nice bot built in that essentially it captures the message and then transitions to a text message. So instead of having to lose the person after they leave the site and ask a question, in case I'm in bed or away from my computer or something, I can text them back. So this is a really nice kind of application to if you have High Level to use on your website. And is very basic. It still collects all the lead information. If I wanted to collect more details, I could. But this is a great kind of way to do the main site embed. If you're going to have like a full-blown tool that's like really powerful, don't just like bury it in the sidebar of your site because no one's ever going to really notice it. Make it apparent on the page so that if you've put a lot of time into it, you should treat it as an asset. You shouldn't treat it as an afterthought. So most of these tools, like the one in Pickaxe, they easily embed onto any page you want. This can be a great way to supplement blog posts. So if you're an accountant, for say, and you're talking about a specific calculation that's hard to explain, you can build a calculator to help people with that calculation. It's a fantastic way to get people to subscribe to your blog or bookmark the page. So if you're looking for main site traffic, this is a really good use case of this. You got to understand though, because you're not embedding it on a sales page, because you're not putting it in a format that is pushing people down your pipeline, you may just get a lot of people that visit your site, click around, but don't take further action. Maybe they engage with it, they give you your lead, but they're not going to book a call after that because it's just sitting on a blog or the sidebar of your website. Last thing is community site embed. Because of the genius developers at Heartbeat, you can embed pickaxes directly in your community, and yes, they work. So you can take this. This is in the courses section of my community, and I have one of my bots built right in. So all someone has to do is, as they go through the course, once they get to the right chapter, they're given the option to use this tool. They punch in their information and it outputs right there on the page. So this is a really cool way if you don't want to use this for lead gen, if you just want to use it for community members, or if this is like a freemium thing where it's like, hey, you have to join the community to get access to it, this is another great way to do it. So obviously, this is huge added value for community members. Like I said, very easy to embed. And this is something you could use to grow free communities. So if you've ever come to a Friday session, you know I'm no fan of free communities because of how much value you guys provide. You all should be charging for it. But if you have a basic membership, a free community, this is a great way to drive growth by saying, hey, you can only get this tool if you join the community. The con of that is that it is only accessible to community members. So obviously, if you put it in there, it's not going to be able to be widely viewed or used. And at that point, it's not really a lead gen bot. It's more of just a kind of value add bot, or it's like a reverse lead gen bot. You're capturing the lead first and then giving them the bot. All right. So now the moment everybody's been waiting for, how do I drive traffic to this thing?
On that LTD life, it's
Oh,
my favorite time of the year. No,
where's that? Is that on your side? Oh, okay. All right. So traffic channels. These are really the only ones I would worry about. I know there's probably other ones, but this is where you're going to find most of your success here. A lot of your strategy all depends on what your marketing budget is and who your audience is. Don't be in places where your people aren't, is the number one rule. So if one of these doesn't make sense to your business, you don't have to use all of these. It's important to kind of pick and choose. So obviously, social and paid organic strategy is probably the easiest for everyone to do. So there's a couple of ideas here of how you can kind of position this. So the first thing is that you create content using the tool. You can, say, hey, I built this cool thing. Watch how it works. If it's something that you can use on a regular basis, you can create multiple videos for it. You can also, if you're creating regular video content, you can just include a little call to action at the end of those videos to make sure you go and check out the tool. Or you can just drop in call to A's in the beginning or middle of your video if you're talking about something that the tool relates. So it's very easy to just kind of tag this in as a lead gen, even if you're just producing organic content. The other thing is if it's a really high value tool and you have like great success stories, sharing those kind of success stories or just talking about how other users have used your tool and what the outcome was is just great fodder. It's great content. So that's another way that you can kind of take, once you have people going through, take those stories and share them. And then obviously you can use paid media to promote all of this content and extend your reach into cold or retargeted audiences. Which, speaking of, do you want to run cost-effective social media campaigns? Some of you who were on the Friday workshop saw a very high-level overview of the cascade ad strategy that we run inside. And for the first time, as of today, this website just went live today. I'm hosting a workshop to teach this in full. The whole thing from beginning to end, how you create the content, how you structure the campaigns, everything you need to know to be able to run this for less than $8 a day. So if you are interested in that, make sure you visit. If you order today, just note that the session itself isn't happening until February 5th. So we got about 2 weeks before the session records, but it'll be a live recording of this workshop with a live Q&A afterwards. So after 2/5, it'll just be an on-demand workshop. But if you want to come to the live one, it's going to be February 5th, 12 p.m. Eastern. Don't be late. So with that said, moving on, next we have pay-per-click strategy. So first thing is, it's really good for high ticket. So if you're selling something and you can afford the pay-per-click cost, this is a really good idea, because if you can solve a really expensive problem for somebody, then naturally they're going to want to use it. And pay-per-click can make a lot of sense pushing to one of those embed types. It doesn't make a lot of sense if you have a low marketing budget, or you're new to pay-per-click and you don't really know what you're doing, or the stuff you're selling is, $10, $15, $20. This is really for those community builders who are selling $5,000, $10,000 programs, where the money you would spend on pay-per-click is essentially a rounding error compared to the revenue you're able to generate from the leads you generate. So just keep that in mind with pay-per-click. Next, we have influencer and affiliate. This is fantastic if you already have a good affiliate network or you have influencer relationships. Those things are really hard to build. Don't wait to launch your tool until you build one of those. You don't have to do it. It's just, hey, if you have the people, great, use it. And this is also fantastic if you have a purchase CTA on that page. So if you're giving that influencer affiliate a code to go and say, hey, promote my tool, and then I'll give you any percentage of the purchases on that page. That's going to be something that is rather unique and a lot stronger than just sending, hey, go promote my sales page kind of thing. So this can be really good, but don't try to build this whole affiliate influencer network just to launch your tool. Launch your tool and then build that later.
Hey, Drew, actually, I don't want to break the flow too much, but I saw a couple questions just in the Zoom chat from folks that were not able to like attend part one. For
Oh yeah.
anybody that's like asked about that, I've gone ahead and dropped the link into the like Hearth page that has like the full recording, so you guys can check it out later. But Drew, if you don't mind just giving like the quick like 30-second like high level synopsis of Pickaxe, just because I think there's quite a few questions in terms of just like what does it do, like how do you set it up, like how easy is it to get started?
So Pickaxe is a piece of software that sits on top of the most commonly used GPTs. So we're talking about OpenAI stuff, Anthropic stuff, Mistral, all of those kind of platforms. You can choose which one you use, but it's a layer that sits on top of it that allows you to build bots in a variety of capacities. You can do chat bots, form bots. I think those are the two main types, and then I think within those two, you can really get kind of fancy into how you make them work. So some can function just as like intake forms with an autoresponder. Some can take it in and then create actions based on those. I'm actually doing another webinar for Pickaxe. A lot of this content is going to be covered on that webinar, but if you want to join that webinar as well, just send me a message, and that way you can learn more about how Pickaxe actually works. So it's going to be kind of a combination of part one and part two of this, with a little bit longer demo thrown in there. But Pickaxe is a really strong platform. I've been a big fan since it got released last year. It won Tool of the Year on AppSumo last year. It's just out of all the tools I tried to do this kind of work, it's the only one that works reliably, that is easy to set up, and just about anyone can make it work. All the other tools out there that do what Pickaxe does, which is essentially create this layer on top of the API, don't you kind of need to be a scientist to set them up. This one is very, very simple. So that's why I like it. That's why I use it. Is that enough context, you think, Morza?
That's perfect. Yeah, I just wanted to give like a high level for anyone that was
Yeah,
curious about checking it out. Yeah, just to give a little bit more color to what kind of comes before some of the stuff. Yeah.
I got you. Okay. Yeah. And the reason I haven't been mentioning Pickaxe so much is because there are other ones that you can try. I just really like, I would never switch from Pickaxe because Pickaxe is just really good at this. There's other ones out there that can do this. There's plenty of them. That's just the one I'm faithful to. So with that said, kind of getting back to the channels in which you can promote this, form strategy is, I mean, this is like one of the oldest marketing applications next to email. It's probably like the second oldest. And this can be Facebook groups, this can be LinkedIn groups, this can be old school forums. It can be really anywhere people are congregating. You just need to make sure when you enter those communities that, one, you should always try to make friends with the admins, because that way when you start posting, they don't immediately think you're spam. Two, follow all the rules. Don't be self-promotional. Don't, spam your posts all over the place. But three, make sure that you always frame the tool in your post as something that's free, that doesn't require additional purchase. So if I was going to post in a forum, I wouldn't go and post my teaser page. I would just post the tool page, because I still get to collect the lead, but there's no pressure to purchase anything, right? They can just watch the demo, use the tool, book a call if they want, but there's no strings attached, and the forum admins aren't going to get really upset at you about posting that kind of stuff. But that said, making friends with the admins on those channels is always best, because admins like to power trip and kick people off if they think they're, bending the rules or, spamming the audience. So just be careful with this. It's a great strategy if you have no marketing budget whatsoever. That's the first place I would go, because it's free. Last is cold email strategy. This is really not for B2C. I know you can do B2C cold email, but B2B is really where it's going to make sense. It's relatively inexpensive. You're talking $500 a month to run a campaign, but you do have to pay $500 a month. This isn't the kind of thing you turn off and turn on like you can with ads. So if you're going to do it, make sure that you can budget $500 a month to do this. The biggest thing with this is that cold email is very complicated to set up and manage. There are a lot of tools out there that make it easy, but it is still very, very easy to mess up. And that is the reason most people never do cold email, is because of how complicated it is. Like any marketing, targeting really matters here, and the messaging matters. Cold emails are usually very, very short. That little, if you want to screenshot that little sample text, that's essentially what I would send, with maybe one more sentence with some context about what the tool is. That's it. So if you're in a B2B space, if you're selling to a business buyer, this is a great strategy and is much less expensive than pay-per-click for most people. It's also just a really good thing to learn how to do for your business if you're not doing it already. So you got some leads. You had some people come in. They did some ads. You did some cold outreach. Now what do you do? So really you have two different types of nurture automation. You have the standard nurture automation, which has been around at this point for 10, 15 years, probably in different capacities. And then you have AI agents, which is kind of the new kid on the block. Now, I will say I had an idea as I was creating this. If you guys are interested in building lead nurture campaigns, the content, the cadence, and all of that, let the Heartbeat team know so we can put another tutorial on the calendar. Or if this isn't interesting to you at all, also let us know, and that way I'll scratch it off my idea list. But that is something that came up because I'm not going to have enough time to go into like how to write these emails or the cadence and all that kind of stuff because there's just too much to cover today. So much ado about automation. So really what you need to know about automation is there's 5 basic elements that you're going to deal with automation. And I'm just recapping this in case you guys are new to automation in general, but we're not going to do a super deep dive into this. You essentially have triggers, actions, delay, exits, and agents. Triggers are the thing that fires. Let me just make sure I don't have a, yeah. Okay. I didn't think I had slides for each of those, but so the first thing is triggers. Triggers are the input to the funnel. So it's, someone fills out this form, perform this action. Someone moves to this stage in my pipeline, perform this action. It's the thing that fires these automations off. Some platforms, depending on what you're using, can also use time as a trigger. So if you're sending out, like if you want to send out stuff on a specific cadence, time can be a trigger. But most of the time, it's some kind of data input into the system that then fires the automation. Actions are things like emails, sending an SMS message, updating a lead status, things like that that the platform is doing on your behalf. Delays are a way to wait between steps. So obviously, if you have like a 15 email nurture sequence, you don't want all 15 of those emails going out at once, like maybe delay those a day or two. So delays are built in to stop that from happening. Exits are what happens at the end. So do they move to another campaign? Do they just exit completely? Do they get tagged with a non-responsive tag? That's just how are you ending your automation sequence. And then you have agents. And like I said before, agents are brand new. This is essentially AI that lives inside your automations and it works autonomously. So you don't have to do anything. It just runs as a natural part of your sequence. It takes in inputs from that sequence and performs tasks automatically. It's very similar to actions, but whereas actions are just doing one specific thing, with AI agents, you can get very creative. Here's the disclaimer I tell, and this is for AI agents specifically, but this goes with all automation. Like, this is brand new technology. Don't trust it. Treat it as brand new technology. It's going to mess up. It's going to do weird things sometimes. So make sure that, automation's never perfect. You're always only going to be 80 to 90% of the way there. There's always going to be that 10% where something goes wrong and something misfires and they get 15 emails at once. That will happen. But specifically within AI agents, because this is so new technology, you really need to be tracking the output of this to make sure that you know what it's sending out on your behalf, and that something, I cannot tell you how many times, OpenAI has updated ChatGPT and all of a sudden my prompts don't quite work the way they used to. And now they're hallucinating a little bit. So make sure that you're keeping an eye on this stuff if you choose to deploy it. So what can they do? Well, at this point, it's really unknown the full extent of what agents can do, because it's kind of one of those things that it's your imagination is really its limits. These are 3 of the most kind of common use cases. So enriching leads, which I'll show you an example of, booking appointments, and generating personalized content. And so personalized content could be anything from scanning through a contact's record and then crafting a follow-up email for them, to creating a personalized newsletter to each and every single one of your leads in your pipeline that is focused on the topics they care about. And I'll show you how to do that here in a second as well, which is right now. So I'm going to try switching my screens. I'm going to walk you through a couple of tool pages first. Let me just make sure you can see this. Is this loading for everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is, again, I threw this together. It probably took me an hour to put this together. So like I said, this doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to look like a Lamborghini. It just has to function. So I went and I took this heartbeat training, which was my first. It's in, I think it's still in the best top 5 heartbeat training. So if you want to watch it, go ahead. But in that, I talked about this empathy-based ad structure, and I have a bot that does the empathy-based ad structure, and you can just add in all your details and it will fire out the content. This tool, by the way, is included in the workshop. So if you were on the fence about buying the Cascade Ad workshop, this tool is what you're going to get as part of that, along with many, many more things. So simple. They watch the video, they work this, and then, oh, how convenient. I have a sales call to action. So you can put something on here. You can have it go and push to another landing page, another funnel, but I'm not asking for their credit card on this page. If they click on this, it takes them to that sales page where they can then make a decision on that point. Now, another option is, like I said, you could have something like this. 3 columns where you have the video, the tool, but now I'm having a free book your coaching session. So maybe my tool was something like, get a head start on, changing your life, and now book a session with me to review your results. So one of the cool things you can do with these tools is you can tell it not to output the results. You can tell it only send me the results, and then tell the client that the prospect that their next step is to book the appointment so I can review the details with them. So this is like super versatile. This can be generative, but it also can just function as something that's collecting lead data and saying, okay, we're generating this report. We'll review your report on the call. Make sure you book it at the link below or the link next to it, or however you want to say it. Now, the other thing I put on here is that, you'll notice like this is a kind of a long bot, right? Ideally, you don't want to use a long bot like this. I just grabbed this one to kind of make the point as to not use a long bot like this, but they don't look great on the page. And oftentimes, if you have this many fields, people aren't actually going to use it because they're like, am I really that interested to give this guy this much information and maybe get what I want? Because remember, it's new technology, so not everybody's going to be comfortable with it. So it's best to keep those bots relatively short. 5 inputs if it's going to be a form bot like this, or just having a simple chat box is more than enough. Now, to make up for that, say you need to have a long bot for whatever reason, you can add stuff on here to make it feel more like a dashboard. So I added on here a form to do that personalized marketing insights newsletter. And so that's what I'm going to show you next. So the way to kind of think about this, right, is that this form is tied into a trigger in high level, which I'll show you shortly. So let's switch over to that. So you complete this, you give me your first name, last name, email, and industry. And then after that happens, you go into this workflow. And for those of you who don't know, this is high level. High level is like my favorite CRM. We're an agency license holder. We give it free for all of our clients. You get it as part of the workshop. Shameless plug for the workshop. So if you want this, you want a free piece of software, sign up. Anyway, so now we have this stack right here. And now at the top, we can go and set a trigger as that form. So we can say, let's do form submission. And we're going to add a filter. Form is, and then we're just going to grab that personalized newsletter form. Okay. And so now it's going to go through and it's going to say, hey, do we know this person's industry or no? And if we don't, then it says, well, let's go and pull ChatGPT in and let's have it scan its website and figure out what their industry is. And then after that, we're going to update their industry contact field. Then we're going to send them over to here where it's going to webhook into Pabbly. So now if we pull Pabbly up, we have the webhook coming in, and then we have a date time formatter. This becomes important in a second. And then we have Claude creating a message. And I'm sorry, this Claude thing is like just so many fields, but we're not going to worry about all of those. We're just going to look at, oh no, it's not loading. Let's see here. There we go. Okay. So using the prospect's details, you'll search the web for marketing related news stories that occurred within the last 30 days relevant to their industry. Consolidate all these stories into a personalized newsletter. Start each newsletter with a personalized greeting using the prospect's name, saying something like, "Hey, first name, saw these stories on my newsfeed, thought you might be interested." For each story, include the date of publication, clickable link to the story. Do not use any stories with a publication date greater than 30 days from this date, right? Because ChatGPT doesn't know what date it is. So you need to give it, this is the date. Or Claude rather. From non-authoritative sources, do not include any stories that don't directly relate to marketing practices in their industry. Close each email with a personal note letting them know to reach out if you ever need support. This is a pretty simple prompt, but if you go and submit that form, it'll go and every 30 days automatically send you a thing. But this is the part that's really cool. So how do you get it out of Pabbly, right? So what we did is we created a custom, and this is another one there's like a million forms here because it has everything in there, but let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Okay, so we have this personal newsletter field. So, hold on, I gotta get back to the bottom here. So essentially, I grabbed a field in high level and I said, and I don't know why it's not showing up here. I think it's that same issue before. But essentially, I just say, take the output of Claude. Oh, there we go. So there's the output from Claude and go and send it back to high level as a update to their contact record. Now, remember I said that sometimes ChatGPT will hallucinate things. It won't get things right. So I put in my own information and it thought I was in sustainable agriculture. So if I just let this run and let a bunch of people come in, they might all be getting news that's totally unrelated to them. That's why it's really important to test and retest to make sure that this stuff is generating stuff that you actually like. So it's always a good idea in the early stages of this to like CC yourself on all these emails to make sure nothing crazy goes out. And test it with your friends and family first before you go and send it to prospects. So now we go back into high level and then we wait for this field not to be empty. Pabbly goes and adds that. This fires off this next step, which is taking the content from their personal newsletter variable, dropping it into an email and sending it. And then as soon as that email sends, it then clears the personal newsletter field. So when we go through the whole process again, and in the next 30 days, it won't get the same content over and over and over. If we didn't do that, it might say, oh, well, this content's already here. We don't need to generate anything else. And then what you can do is you can loop this. So I can set a go-to, just like I set here, to all the way back to the top of the webhook, send the data back through, and every 30 days, they will get a new email. And all I'd have to do is add a wait step here, and then a go-to to drop them back in. So the things you can do with agents inside of your automation really are just totally up to your imagination. What's the kind of value you want to provide and how much data do you want to mine? I just pulled in for this webhook, their industry and their name. That's it. But you could go so much deeper to provide a level of personalization that is just unheard of in email marketing. So I hope that was helpful, kind of seeing all those things laid out and to see how all the pieces fit together. Really quick, this was one of the other kind of questions that I got, I think, after it. And it was like, how do I budget for AI? It's really no different than any marketing thing. Essentially, you got to look at your monthly API costs plus your total marketing cost to calculate your total marketing spend. Your total marketing spend divided by the number of leads is your cost per lead. Your total marketing spend divided by the number of closed deals is your cost per acquisition. Your total 1 month revenue for divided by new customers acquired is your average revenue per customer. So if you have different tiers, you need the average. Your CPA should always be half of the average revenue for your first month. That way, your lead funnel becomes a self-fulfilling, kind of funnel where the first person is paying for the next person, is paying for the next person, is paying for the next person, because you're always making at least twice what you're paying for the lead. The big thing is that you need good math. You need good math in your budgeting. And API credits can get expensive. We had one runaway campaign on us earlier around this time last year where we spent a whole bunch of money we didn't mean to because we promoted something with a big budget that really didn't need a big budget to catch fire. So be careful with it. Monitor your API costs like a hawk when you're running these campaigns. And if things are getting a little tight, shut them down. Like don't just stop using them. Pickaxe does give you some credits built in, but if you're really going to run a scalable marketing operation, using the API credits is just, it's kind of par for the course. So with that, I'll take questions. If we have time, do we have time?
We definitely do. Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to go ahead and keep dropping questions into the Zoom chat here. Let me go ahead and pull some of the other ones um, that came in. One of the questions was just how often are you like retesting these tools and checking in on the stuff that you have? Like, do you have like a monthly cadence or like a weekly cadence where you go back in and check on some of the stuff that's been built already?
Uh, it depends on how I'm using it and what I'm using. A lot of the stuff I build internally is for my clients. So it's stuff that the general public isn't really using. The stuff I build for my clients for their lead funnels, usually the responsibility to kind of monitor that is left up to them. I'll take a peek every once in a while and see how it's doing, but generally, if they're getting leads, they're getting notifications coming in that says, hey, XYZ person submitted a lead to the bot, then they're usually pretty happy. They're not too worried about it because API credits are not terribly expensive and the price is going down all the time. So the realistically, it's not really that big of an issue unless you go and have like 500 people come in one day. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that was really add up. Or the other thing that I should mention is that you have to be careful where you promote these because bots will go in and wreak havoc and hackers will wreak havoc. So one of the bots we built back last year was a market research bot for a Amazon gift card. And that thing, it did great. It got us all the market research, but it also got tons and tons of scammers that were trying to just get the free gift card. So there's there's always that possibility if you're doing this in conjunction with like a giveaway or something like that. But I'm not really, I'm focused more on the leads coming in than I am, how many people are using the bot on a given basis.
Got it. Okay, super helpful. And then we had one more question coming in from Ruth, which was, would you recommend charging for the AI output to like stop the window shoppers? And then if yes, like average cost that you kind of put around that.
Yeah, so the way I would, I mean, it really depends on what your bot is doing and the value it's providing, because the reason people are going to engage with it is because it's novel. It's something they haven't tried before. They've downloaded the workbooks before and they've taken the free courses, but this is something kind of new that they might not have had experience with. And so if you then say, output a message and say, okay, if you want your free report, or you're not your free report, if you want your report, pay $99. It kind of defeats the purpose of doing this because the whole idea here is to provide value up front with the bot and then book them on a sales call or nurture them through email or whatever your next step in that process looks like. So if you did want to like kind of like pseudo charge for it, I would just put it behind a sales call because that way it's kind of like, I'm sure you guys get all the time for Mortiza, like do you get those ads where they're like giving away a free Yeti or a free like Stanley Cup if you get on a sales call?
Yeah.
Same kind of practice, right? Like, hey, give us a shot to pitch you and you'll get this free thing. You can do the same thing with the output of that. I would rather see you do that than charge for it, unless it's the kind of thing that the output of it is of such insanely high value that they would otherwise have to pay for it somewhere else and you can deliver cost savings. So like say that financial analysis bot, right? Well, to go to an accountant and have them do that, that might cost like $400. If I'm an accountant and I say, well, listen, I can do it for 400, but if you want a more budget-friendly option, I have a bot that I can give you. It only costs $40 and you can put your stuff in and it'll give you an AI analysis. I could see that working like as a low ticket option.
Yeah, and to plus one that, I think like one thing we've also seen is like a lot of people that have like embedded some of these like AI bots into their practice of how they coach and work with clients, where it's like, hey, once you come on as a client, like we actually start off with the intake doing this bot, where then you give it the information that kind of helps output stuff in a nice structured format, and that's like how we can start working together. I think it does two things. Of one, it saves you a little bit of time as you're like onboarding new clients, and then for the clients, like it also just it is a little bit more of a premium feeling of like, okay, cool, I'm getting this like nice structured thing that we start working off of together. So I think there's like other ways that we've seen that incorporated from the paid side of things.
Yeah,
Um,
there's you really like I said, your imagination is really the limit on how you want to use these. You don't have to do any of the ones I showed you. You could do something entirely different. And there's plenty of people. There's one user on Pickaxe that does like capybara tips, and for like $1 a month or something, you can go and get capybara tips every day, and just like it'll just give you the new capybara tip of the day. I don't know what it's for. I've never checked it out, but it's just like that's a very specific use case. But she's making money off of it. There's another one that I think is one of their best sellers, like the people who sell these bots from Pickaxe, and they did a Shakespeare translator. So it'll take Shakespeare's text and translate it for students. So back in when I was in high school, you used to get these books where on one page it would be like the English, like the normal Shakespeare, and on the other side it would be like a new English translation of it. So it kind of does that for students that want to study, and I think they charge a monthly fee to go and use that for students that are studying Shakespeare and need some help. So there's a lot of ways you can go about building these. Like it doesn't have to just be a copywriting bot or a meal planning bot. Like you can really be creative with it.
One more question is just in terms of kind of like the length and the sizing of like the intake and the information that you're getting. I know you mentioned on the forms themselves having something like I think you said like 5 fields is like the ideal amount for people to come in, especially if you're doing this more on lead gen. When you're doing this with more of like the actual chatbots that you're building in and you're seeding with information, I guess at what point do you kind of determine like, hey, it's a good time to go ahead and cut off the conversation, move them into a call versus just continuing to chat with the bot?
So you build that into the prompt itself. So essentially, the way to think about it is just the way you would structure a sales call. And in a sales call, right, there's 3 main kind of categories that I teach people, right? There's the discovery phase, and then you go into advice and guidance, and then you go into your close. And so what you would do is you would just structure your prompt and say, okay, step 1 is to ask it these 5 questions. Step 2 is to provide this kind of guidance based on the information in the knowledge base. Step 3 is to suggest we book a call and send them the link to the calendar. So you structure it like that. And then what you can also do, and this is a best practice, because I'm sure you all heard the story of, I think it was like a Ford dealership who got the bot to, someone got the bot to say that they were going to sell them like a Ford Focus or something for like $1, right? So like, there's prompts you can put in to prevent users from going in and monkeying with it and like just asking it random questions. And especially when you're using a chat bot, that stuff's really important. With a form bot, you don't really have to worry about that because it's just outputting something. And then they just take that and go. Or you can even set up at least in Pickaxe and some other platforms, a chain where it says, okay, well, we've sent it to your email. So that's another way to kind of prevent people from abusing the bot is so, the output isn't going to be displayed here. It's going to be sent to your email. So you got to make sure you give us a good email to get.
Got it. So I'd imagine like from simplicity's sake, like it would be easier to start off with a form bot just to like get the hang of it, understand what you're doing before shifting over to like a full chat bot.
Yeah, form bots are way easier because your prompt doesn't have to be nonlinear. It like with a sales bot, it can or I'm calling it a sales bot, a chat bot. It has to kind of be nonlinear because you don't know, okay, say they answer the first 3 questions, then they ask a bunch of questions. You need to be able to tell it, okay, after they're done asking questions, you need to go back and remember where you were in the sales process, which can get kind of dicey if you're new to prompt engineering. If you've been doing it forever, then this is nothing new. I mean, we've been all doing this for 2 years now. But if this is your first time ever playing with this stuff, I think you're right. I think a form bot is just a lot more linear. It's a lot easier. And generally, it can generate something of pretty high value while collecting all the lead details that you might need on a person.
Got it. Super helpful. And then one thing that I just wanted to like also just call out and shout out a little bit is the link to the like Cascade Ad Workshop. We're gonna make sure to include that in the like wrap up email that we send to everyone, just as a heads up. And what I do want to call out just like out loud is Drew has helped so many people in the heart scale up their marketing and their lead gen. If you guys don't mind, yeah, like David just like dropped in a little bit of information about some of the wins that he's had working with Drew. Like I know there's been like quite a few people coming out of those marketing support calls calls with just so much more clarity around their business and how they're trying to grow. So if this is something that you are thinking about, you want to grow your business a lot more over 2025, which I hope is everybody on the call, like definitely sign up for this. I think Drew is not just like thoughtful about how do you actually grow scalably, but like how do you do that when you are starting as a small business? Like you don't have millions of dollars in resources, like you have realistic constraints around how you can grow. So I think it's really, really helpful to workshop to join in if you haven't thought deeply enough about this and you want to focus on it over 2025. With that, I also wanted to call out and just share a little bit about some of the stuff that we are providing with Heartbeat as well too. So if you have not started your community already on Heartbeat, we'd love to get you to actually build one with us. And a little bit of information that we can share with you guys today is Heartbeat, it's going to cover all of the things that you really need to grow a community business. We'll take care of all the discussions, the courses, the documents, the events, all of that. But where we really shine is just automating away a lot of the busy work as you're running the community with our Heartbeat workflows, and then just making it as easy as possible to grow and scale up revenue through the platform. Like that's, I think, the thing that we do the best is we have probably the most advanced payment suite on the market in terms of just like helping you actually grow your business. And so if you are, getting started, you haven't like fully built out your community, you haven't created a free trial, use this link. It's just heartbeat.chat/Drew. What this is going to do is it's going to allow you to create a free trial. You can, take as long as you want on that free trial and then upgrade whenever you're ready. And we will automatically apply a 20% off discount for your first 3 months whenever you do decide to upgrade. All you have to do is create your account in the next 2 days, and then you will automatically get this discount applied whenever you decide to upgrade. So again, link is heartbeat.chat/Drew, and we're going to also post this in the show notes. Cool. We also have a couple more events coming up over the next month. But before we go into all of that, one of the things that I really love to do as we like close out these calls is we always do a waterfall, which is just like a little bit of a gift to our host. And so what that means is I'm going to ask a question and we are going to go ahead and drop the answer into the Zoom chat, but we're not going to hit enter just yet. So type it out. And when you're done typing, just give me a thumbs up. We'll all hit enter together. And that's what makes it into a waterfall. So today's question is really simple. It is, what is one insight, one learning that you're taking with you from this call? So go ahead and type that out into the Zoom chat for me, and then just give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go ahead and hit enter. All right, we've got a couple thumbs ups that I see have popped up. I'm just waiting for a handful more. Got, I think, 3 now that I'm seeing. Give me like 2 more, and then I think we're good to go. All right, last one. I'm waiting on it. Oh my gosh, Tony's got thumbs ups going all across the screen. All right, I think we've hit it. Everyone, go ahead and hit enter for me at the same time. Oh, perfect. From Debbie, format with the sales call attached really will work. Yeah, so many new ideas around the cool stuff you could do with bots. Nina, I really need to watch part 1, definitely. We're gonna include the link for that in the show notes as well too. From David, just how to integrate bots into the sales process. From Ruth, the workflow from advertising to capturing sales leads. From Tony, setting up AI bots can 100x my business. Undoubtedly so. I 100% believe that. And then Daisy, it's going to cost $500 a month per month on email marketing. Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, so many learnings. I love seeing this. Now we had one question that came in from Pat, which was about the just like Cascade Ads workshop, Drew, if you don't mind answering. And so the question is, if I don't want a bot, am I still going to benefit from the Cascade Ad strategy workshop, or is that more specific to this?
No, 100%. So you don't need a bot to run the Cascade ad strategy. It will work with one if you choose to build one, but really it is more about making the most out of the advertising dollars you're spending on Facebook, X, Twitter, TikTok, wherever. So it can work. Really, all you need is a business and something to sell, and it will work. We've been running that strategy for a whole bunch of different businesses over the past year when we really kind of dialed it in and perfected it. So it's not something that you particularly need AI for. You can use AI. You'll use AI in the course, but you don't need an AI bot yourself to make it work.
And honestly, that's one of the things I love about working with Drew is that it's always like built on really solid, good business fundamentals. It's not like, here's the new catchy thing in marketing. We're just going to throw that at the wall and see if it sticks. And so like, again, if you are looking to build out your ad strategy, like this is the workshop to go to in 2025. Cool. So this is everything that we have for you guys today. Misty, do you want to just run through like the next like 2, 3 upcoming events we have before we close out today?
Yeah, so next Tuesday, we have Clover coming in to teach you how to set up your Heartbeat community. So for those of you who are newer to Heartbeat or you haven't finished setting up your community yet, this is definitely for you. They're going to walk through a lot of the things you can set up within the platform. And then the following Wednesday, we have Laura Zug coming in to do a tutorial on creating your strategic framework for your community for 2025. So she's calling it Community 2.0. So if you're ready to up-level your community and create your framework for 2025, that one's for you. And then right after that, next Thursday, we have our February town hall on the 6th.
Cool. Thanks so much, Misty. Drew, thank you so much for joining on live and sharing all of this knowledge with us. And thank you everybody else for joining on as well.